Happy Thursday, y'all. Happy Thursday. It is Therapy Thursday, and I got company. How are you doing tonight? How are you doing tonight? So, for Transforming Trauma tonight, I've got a guest.
What's up, y'all?
My son, Touré, is with me tonight, as we promised, to talk about a cool new project we started. So we're recording on a couple cameras, so we're like CNN tonight. So sometimes I'm going to be looking at you over here, and sometimes I'm going to be looking at you over here. So tonight what we're doing is we are sharing with you a cool new project we started. It's a project of raw, real, true life conversations, stories about family, about faith, about addiction, about mental health, about masculinity, about trauma, about healing, about recovery, about grief, about learning who you are. And what we hope is that in listening to our stories, we will be able to at least share some strategies, some tips, some things we've done to recover. I say the seed was planted in pain, and this is the title of our first episode. So before we go further, this is Touré.
What's up, y'all? My name is Touré. I'm her son, obviously. And, I'm just tapping in to give y'all a bird's eye view at my life and the trauma that I've been through, but also overcome over the years, and that she has also, been through with me.
Yeah. And something we said is we're not trauma dumping, right? You use that phrase in the first episode of our podcast that we've called The Seed and the Root. Yeah, that's available now on YouTube. Hi Lisa, how are you? So we're not trauma dumping. We're not here to preach. We're actually using this as an opportunity to process. And again, we're trying to share our own humanity, our stories of survival, of healing, of in Dominica we say battling with life, struggling with life and making it to the other side, but continuing to struggle because we're alive. So we talk a lot about stigma in mental health, and especially among Black families.
Right.
So what are your thoughts about that?
Well, I think it's a systemic thing. Our people, for many decades, centuries even, you've been forced to just play tough. Like as if we don't have emotions, like as if we're not human. But if I know anything about us, that's the furthest thing from the truth. So,
Yeah, and so I think we've got to normalize our human experience. Although we've been taught by the systems around us, including our family systems, to hey, keep your pain to yourself. What happens in our house stays in our house. Don't expose your dirty laundry in public. Yeah? Carrying a lot of shame. Essentially, Lisa, because you're alive. Yeah? And I say that because the things that we hold secret, we don't realize there's so many other people living through the same thing.
Going through the same experience.
Yeah. So we want to direct you clearly to the Seed and the Root podcast, over at YouTube. We are asking you to subscribe. We plan to offer at least once a week videos where Touré shares about what? What are you going to be sharing about?
Various topics, going to be discussing things like semen retention, It's a practice where it's like one chooses to, instead of wasting your seed, you hold it in, and that gives you more vigor, more vitality, more confidence. You know, become more bold, more expressive.
Where did you learn that? Because
just online.
Online.
Yeah.
What? Okay. And why did you start using that process?
Well, me personally, I had a pornography addiction, and that right there was getting in the way of all of my relationships. You know, subtly, overtly. So I finally realized that, you know, I had to do something about it. And semen retention was that way out. It was that open door.
So you're 27, right? A lot of people would say, or a lot of fellas will say, what? Porn addiction? Porn what? Like, I don't think a lot of men believe you can be addicted to porn. Oh, but you
Well, I beg to differ. I definitely say you can be addicted to porn. You know, I've experienced it myself, you know, so.
Well, how old were you when that started? And we talked about
young.
that. You started young.
I started young. I was maybe around 9 years old when I found myself like in the throes of addiction, you know, and it was a hidden thing. It's like a hidden battle, you know. It's like you don't really have anyone you can tell about it, no one you want to tell about it in the first place. There's a lot of shame behind it.
Right.
It's like a secret, you know, a secret sin, you know.
A secret sin.
Yeah.
In recovery, they say we're as sick as our secrets. And so until we begin to shine light on the secret, we can suffer and struggle with that secret. And one thing leads to another, to another, to another. Yeah. So I remember, I mean, I smile about it because as a mom, initially I found it funny, you know, because again, what you call it, like culturally, you don't think porn is a big deal, although you don't want your kids to be watching porn. So one day he came home from school and I'm downstairs cooking and I hear a desperate mom. I'm like, what is it? Dash upstairs. And back in the day, your computer would just lock up on you.
Yep.
So
you got the pop-ups.
You had about how many pop-ups on that? A lot. There were a lot of pop-ups on that computer that day. And you know, okay, so of course I figured out what was going on. I helped him click out of it. We got out of it. And I think we had a conversation. I tried to not make it too big of a deal. You know, like there are a lot of people who, when their parents find out they were watching porn, you know, like hell broke loose. You know, your parents call you names, you're this, you're that. So me, I thought, well, you know, the psychologist, let's use the calm, you know, normalize it. Yeah, you know, but you don't want to be doing it because it objectifies women. But what does a 9-year-old really know about that, except that maybe their brain landed on something very powerful? Triggering, what do you mean?
Triggering. I mean, think about it, like, sex is a very powerful thing. You know, it's one of the most amazing experiences one can have as a human, right? So you find that as a kid, you're like, you found the Holy Grail. You think you found it.
Right.
You know, but I mean, at that age, you don't really know what you're getting yourself into because you don't know the relationship dynamics behind sex to begin with. So it's like you're tangling. It's like David versus Goliath.
Right.
But you don't have that anointing to deal with that type of issue.
It's too big. Like it's too big for you.
Yeah.
It's too big for you. And you call it like the Holy Grail because sex is a powerful energy. Sex is a powerful force. And without education and preparation, it can swallow us. Yeah, it can kill. Right? STDs, you end up with creating new life, and one person ends up staying with the kid because the other person maybe wasn't ready, not prepared. Yeah, financially you're not ready, overwhelmed. Yeah, I get what you're saying with the bigness of it. It's a big thing, And it does end up impacting relationships. I think a lot of adults are not acknowledging people are married, Touré, and one spouse is addicted to porn.
Right.
But they're not talking about it. Yeah. One person might be hiding to do it, feeling bad about it. One person might be very upset, and the other one is still doing it. So, I do think that's a big deal that you have put in some work.
Yeah.
Yeah. To try to reset that. And you say semen retention.
Yes.
Okay. So for the fellas, like older fellas, let me know what you'll think about porn addiction. And if you think that's a thing. Yeah? And how you cope? How have you coped? Would you tell us? Would you tell us live? Yeah? Or do you still have a feeling of shame about it? That sense of, let me keep that secret, that's my business. There was a young man a couple weeks ago, maybe about a month ago, who was on Facebook Live sharing that actually had gotten in the way of his relationship. And he was very distraught, and made a kind of a public declaration.
It's pretty brave.
Very brave, right? Yeah. Because a lot of people didn't know about it. And a lot of people don't talk about it like that. Yeah. But to come out and say it, and maybe your mom might hear, in the podcast, you say something like, you just felt in that moment, like just a sense of shame that you had to disclose it. You had to admit it to me, who was maybe the person you loved the most. But you have to open up yourself, like you'll, become very vulnerable. Yeah. Okay, so this is one of the topics that we'll be exploring, yeah, and offering strategies, because I'm sure there are more strategies. There are, from a psychological perspective, there are like CBT, cognitive behavior therapy approaches that you can use. There are other addiction type recovery strategies that you can use to manage any kind of addiction, porn addiction being one. You remember where we were when we started thinking about doing a kind of a podcast like this, like we're having these conversations?
We were in your room.
And we just started talking.
Yeah, we started chopping it up. We just started talking, brainstorming.
Mm-hmm.
And then eventually we landed on, at first it was going to be called Psychologist Mom, Sailor Son. Because I was in the Navy at the time, or had been just recently discharged from the Navy.
Mm-hmm.
So we were just thinking about using that experience as a way to first and foremost heal our relationship, but also give back to the community. And now it's finally starting to bear fruit with the Seed and the Roots podcast.
And you went into the Navy very young.
Yes.
Yeah. You went in at 17, eh?
Mm-hmm.
You went in at 17, which, looking back on it, I think that was too young. Don't you think?
Definitely.
like you barely out of high school and going in to make such a big life commitment. That was probably a little young, yeah? And we were just talking, and Touré and I, we have these long conversations, and sometimes it can go in deep. And Joyce, it can go very deep. And we said, man, we should record this stuff. And we might have recorded it on a computer, back, like I say, maybe 10 years ago, but just never got around to doing it. And we're ready now. We're ready now. And yeah, I'm looking forward to the conversations that we'll have on some of these deep topics. We're going to be talking about trauma as well. And right before we started this, you said you wished your dad was here.
Yeah. For those who don't know, my father, Terrence Monaghan, he passed away back in 2021.
Mm-hmm.
So I've just been missing him.
On Mother's Day, his father passed away. Yeah. And anything else you want to talk about that now?
Nope.
Or later? We'll talk more about that another time. Just that whole experience. Part of what we did right after that was to go to Dominica for a month. That was the best I think I could have done, or at least I felt I could do, to help him and his sister get their footing a little bit.
Right.
But I mean, how do you get your footing after your father passes away? You know, so suddenly, how do you get your footing? And I, my fiance died the same year. So, you know, and I've lost my mom. I lost my mom in a very sudden way as well. So I really knew it was not going to be easy. I knew it was going to take years to really get your footing under you. Where would you say you are on that process, on that journey?
Losing someone is a lifelong mourning.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, I can't really say I'm here or there. You know, it's just I'm here.
Mm-hmm. You're here and doing the best you can today. Yeah. So part of that is that powerless feeling of this is the reality. You have no power to change it. You just have to find ways to keep going. And what are the ways you've found to keep going? We want to talk about that, because some of the ways we find to keep going are not good for us. Right? Some of the things we use to keep going, they're not good for us. So we're going to be talking about addiction.
Okay.
But that's up to you if you want to talk about it today. It's definitely going to be in the videos.
Okay. It definitely will. That's one thing that I feel like I'll leave out of this video.
Tonight.
Yes.
Yeah, because that's a big topic,
Yeah.
right? And the importance of breaking cycles, right? The importance of breaking cycles. We last night he took a video of me crocheting, right? What crochet does for me is it puts me in a bit of a trance. So I just kind of keep looping, and I'm going in cycles, but it's like I'm not even thinking about it. You know, you're not even thinking about it. So in cycles, you're not even thinking about the cycles. They become automatic after a while. If it's a good cycle, great. But if it's not a good cycle, dommage, right? So then we have to interrupt the pattern, interrupt the cycle, create new cycles that are positive based cycles so that you can keep moving forward. So we're going to be talking about the pain of that, and coping with grief, coping with loss, sometimes the rage and the silence. That's part of that recovery process. You know, it's not always, it's not even about always. I mean, it takes a while before you can really talk about it, you know, without bawling about it, essentially. I'll say for me, it really took a while to be able to talk about losing camps without just crying all the time. And one thing I appreciate about this platform is that I was able to use it to process my grief. And so along the way, I found a lot of other people who had themselves experienced grief, and you know, you would just talk and other people would sympathize, empathize, and you would feel me. I felt as if I was not walking through it alone. So the thing is, pain either passes down, it passes down like intergenerationally when we don't process it. And that's something I appreciate about you wanting
to actually do the healing work.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
What is something you've done over the years when it comes to healing work that stands out?
I say getting deliverance.
What do you mean by that?
When I say getting deliverance, it's like, so say if you're dealing with generational curses,
For example.
like addiction, for example, like on my dad's side, they deal with addiction heavy. So, I had to rely on the power of the Most High a lot of the times to break the proclivity to, I just keep going down that negative path.
That cycle.
Yeah.
To keep doing that automatic cycle. That is coded in your DNA because we are predisposed to certain things because of our biology.
Right.
Yeah. And so you have to begin to learn how to work against your biology. Yeah. And you call it deliverance, which is a beautiful word. Generational trauma can also be disguised as discipline. Yeah, the way we correct our kids, the way you get corrected. That might be something we'll talk about
Okay.
down the road, right? In one of our videos, just styles of parenting. Mine and your dad's were different, and we'll talk about that. Sometimes the idea that, you know what, we got it like that. I'm good. I'm okay. Can be passed down as a way to cope. I'm just gonna keep it moving, as opposed to doing the work. And I've been very proud of you for initiating different healing processes.
Yeah.
There's this young lady used to ask to go to, she did a process, I forget her name, Nicole? I forget her name. And you do some really expressive work, deep, meditative, expressive work. You've done a somatic experiencing workshop as well, therapy.
Yeah.
All those things, that group work, all these strategies are out there to help us reset, So this right here, would you say when you were in the heat of things, because you've described it as like this, you said deliverance. So my guess is there's a big part of you that feels like a lot of that, you've gotten a handle on it. Would you say that's correct? What you needed wasn't more lectures and you needed space, you think?
I think I just needed to be understood more.
What does that mean?
To be understood. When you're looking from the outside in, I'm going through the experience. As far as the addiction and, the other stuff, and that's not to, I guess, pacify my addictions or be like, oh yeah, I want to keep my addictions. No.
Right.
Because that needed to go too. But at the end of the day, I'm still human.
So you're saying just more understanding that, you know what, I'm not perfect, that I'm in pain here.
Yeah.
And I'm struggling here.
And that's the underlying issue. It's not the drugs. The drugs is not the issue. The issue is that I'm hurting. And I need help.
Right.
I needed help at the time. So. Yeah.
And that's what a lot of our families are experiencing, but we have normalized somehow not talking about our pain, as if we are supposed to be perfect. The thing about it is nobody else is perfect. And the other thing about it is the illness continues with secrecy. So you take away the power of the illness once you give it light and air and words, and you address it versus you cover it up. That's part of what we're doing. Yeah. So I think for me as a mom, watching my child, especially a Caribbean mom, ooh Lord, who grew up is Black and Caribbean. So the Black culture is keep it sacred. In the Caribbean, you better be perfect. So we're high on perfectionism in the Caribbean. I mean, we grew up and they would use red markers to tell you wrong. They're not saying do better next time. They're saying wrong. They're saying you are failed, and they're making lists of who came first, second, third, and if you're number 27 out of that class of 27, everybody will know you came last, you know? So there's a lot of shame built into not being perfect in the Caribbean. So the other part is, for me now, here I am, I'm a psychologist. People think the psychologist, you have all the answers. You gotta be able to fix this. If you're fixing other people, you are not supposed to be having any issues, which it's not rational. It's not a rational way to think, but it's a way that is out there. So this man who wrote A Purpose-Driven Life, I forget his name, he's a pastor out in California. His son, you know, that book, A Purpose-Driven Life, inspired so many people. Here he was preaching every Sunday, right? Teaching, helping other people. His son committed suicide. So for me, I think as a mom, I felt some of that, like that weight, right? And needing my support system to tell me it was okay not to have all the answers. Yeah? And that it was okay to be exhausted from trying to provide support to you. And that softness was, you know, is a strategy too, because we'll talk about something in a subsequent podcast where I essentially tapped into my feminine energy at a certain point. As you got older, I started tapping into my feminine energy more so than my masculine energy. Let me explain that. So when you all were younger, I was more, do this, do that. You got to do it now, that kind of way. Would you say that?
Yeah.
Would you say I'm as much that way, or I can still, well, how am I now?
I think you've been trying to tone it back,
but you can say it, you know, man. You think I've been trying to tone it back, but
I mean, I don't know what you want me to say.
What percentage would you say? Like, how much further do I have to go in the toning it back?
Well,
okay, to be continued. The Caribbean part of me, like I said, is very strong. But because I have the psychologist training, I can interrupt that cycle, so to speak. Although it's very painful in my body, let me tell you, to be with you from my feminine mom energy perspective, which is to focus on where I'm feeling pain. So if you're a mother working from your feminine energy, if your child does something that does not feel good to you, you let the child know, you have every right to do this, but it doesn't feel good for me and I cannot be around it. You can continue it if you're not ready to stop it. You can continue it if you want. And even if it's beyond, you're not ready to. Like, addictions are not simple to, it's a whole change process, right? So even if you're not able to yet, yeah? Even if you're not able to yet, the fact that it hurts, yeah? The fact that it hurts, from your feminine energy, a mother has to say, okay, that's too much for me. That's too much for me, yeah? I can't deal with that, okay? I can't deal with that, all right? So instead of like being the Mother Teresa, who is like, I'm just gonna break, and I might self-destruct, but I'm going to be there anyway. So in my feminine, that gave me a lot more relief, saying, okay, I acknowledge your right to be a human being. And forgiveness became easier. Forgiveness became easier because I could acknowledge your right to your own path, to your own journey. Yeah. And release my hand, so to speak, which is what, anyway, like from zero, from birth to adulthood, I mean, that relationship changes so much because at first you're a helpless child and your parents have to do everything for you, you know? So that's hard to release. It's quite hard to release. Yeah. Speaking of forgiveness, that's another topic we'll hit. Forgiveness is not always reconciliation. I'm happy we have reconciliation. But sometimes forgiveness opens the door to that. I think people forgive when they're ready to forgive. They have a right to not forgive. I don't blame families who, you know, through the pains of relationship where it's hard to forgive, but, you know. So, some takeaways you want to offer?
Some takeaways. I'd say if you have someone who is in your life, who you care about, who you love, and they're dealing with addiction, try to understand them first before you throw the book at them. You know, it's harder for someone to break free from their addictions if they feel like they're being attacked. And of course, you know, the addiction could be, in a sense, attacking the family, of course, that's trying to get them sober. Like if you do an intervention and the person's not receptive, like that doesn't feel good, of course. But I mean, it's like, when it comes to delicate family members, you have to meet in the middle. It can't just be one party's right all the time.
But one part of the recovery is resetting the nervous system.
Okay.
Like PTSD and the trauma and the pain, you know, the back and forth maybe you went through with your person. We have to teach our nervous system to feel safe again with our person. Yeah. And we'll talk about ways to do that. How about this thing we talk about a lot, reparenting?
Reparenting is definitely necessary. I know for me, having gone through the addiction phase, it was like I had missed out on so much of my youth, having dealt with the addiction, that I found myself wanting to relive that childhood again, but in a sober way this time. So.
So, therapy and support are a big deal, in a big piece of that reparenting process, learning how to love yourself, you know, like the way the little child deserves. Something I'm very grateful for you is that you have some strong men around you. You were talking to one of them last night.
Yeah, Khalif.
You know, you were talking to somebody today. You do a lot of your scriptural readings.
Yeah, Brother Jeremy.
Uncle Ryan, when things are rough, you call Uncle Ryan. Yeah. And that's been very crucial because your dad was he would call it like it was. Yeah, and he was there.
He was always no nonsense when it came to telling you what it was. But I needed that, and I still need that in my life. I feel like every young man needs that in his life. You know, someone who's not going to play games with him, not going to, sell you a dream, just talk good, sweet nothings in your ear.
Yeah, that Terrence boy, ooh. Yeah,
He was real.
he was real. You know, early today you said you miss his candor.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was real. And men do need brotherhood with emotional safety. Like they need men who they can feel safe with. Yeah. Who they can feel safe with to talk about these kinds of things with, to be vulnerable with. Yeah, and to not have judgment. So I'm grateful that you found that. The silence part, you know, before we wrap up, there's how important is silence and stillness for
tell
you?
me.
Because sometimes healing sounds like nothing. I think, like it can feel like as if you're in a tunnel. You know, you're doing the work, and you're not yet seeing the results, and you can be doubting yourself in the middle of that process. But that is part of the healing.
Right.
Yeah, that's okay. That's part of the healing. So, here's our call. Our call is an invitation to heal. Our call is an invitation to heal. Our call is an invitation to heal. Because if nothing else, we hope that what we do with these episodes of the podcast is to help you feel seen. Somebody else, yeah, knows what I've been through. Somebody else has lived a similar story. Maybe you feel a little less alone. Maybe you even feel a little inspired, you know, to do some of what it is you say you've done, like, you know, the therapy and the, you know,
But yeah, I think we're about to wrap it up for this podcast episode. You know, I do want to let everyone know that this is just the beginning. You know, there's a lot more in store, and more stories to tell, more healing to do, lots more to unravel in this story of ours. So stay tuned, and you know, let's heal together.
That's right. So subscribe on YouTube. It is at
youtube.com/@the-seed-and-the-root.
I have also put on my page, and I will put it again, a QR code that you can scan and you can tune in weekly. You can check it out weekly. Okay? If this touched you, if you felt something, anything, leave a comment, tell a friend, share this, follow us on social, ask your questions. All right? But for now, he's the seed.
I'm the seed, and she's the root.
And we look forward to talking to you another time.
All right.
Peace.